The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the host/guest and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any of BXR entities and those they represent.
Welcome back. This is your guy, Rich James, and this is Living a Rich Life here on beexposedradio. So it's been a while, been away for a little bit, working on some different projects, working on a couple of different events, attending a lot of great events. But my passion here at beexposedradio is to give you my talk show. So today we have two amazing guests. So let's go ahead and get started. So again, welcome to another week of Living a Rich Life. Here on Living a Rich Life, we like to inform, encourage, and inspire others to live a rich life. Now, how do we do that? For those that don't remember, we do that by 6 principles: goals and achievement, good health, strong relationships, financial freedom, philanthropy, and extraordinary experiences. And today we're going to talk with two individuals that really focus on a lot surrounding philanthropy, and they give back in different ways. But again, let's talk about it. So today, our first guest, again, we've been trying to get him on for a while, known for addressing many social issues in the community through content creating. That's social issues such as food deserts, trauma, and something we're going to talk about, fighting stigmas. He holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in Criminal Justice from Coppin State University and a Master's of Art at Morgan State University, and that's a Master's of Arts degree in Journalism. This guest uses media as a tool to serve and create positive changes in the world. Please welcome multimedia producer Devin Walker.
Thank you for that.
My crowd is a little slow on the applause there. So Mr. Walker, it's great for you to join. I thank you. I know we've been trying to do this for a couple of months now, and I think schedules were kind of hectic. But I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day and joining. How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Oh, well, as I like to say, I am better than amazing.
Yeah, I like
that. Better than amazing. So one of the things we do here, again, Be Exposed Radio, we like to bring folks on that inspire and motivate others through, their industry, their creative genius. And one of the things that stood out to us was, again, just your platform, using your media platform and some of the work. So let's get right into it.
Okay.
Multimedia producer. Tell us, what does that mean in terms of the work that you do? Share for those that don't know what a multimedia producer is about.
Well, I produce content on multiple platforms. I have a podcast that I need to relaunch. People have been asking about it, but I've been a little busy, so I haven't gotten back to that yet. Of course, I'm an author. I wrote a book titled In Case I Never Get to Tell You, which is about self-accountability, overcoming adversity, and living by principles. I am a freelance writer for the Afro newspaper, and I create documentaries. All of these projects, honestly, are intended to uplift, inspire, and educate society.
Nice. So I'm gonna get on somebody, because the fact that you have a book, and I usually have a good research team, we missed that. So I apologize. That's not my norm. So again, tell us, folks, what's the name of that book?
It's called In Case I Never Get to Tell You. So, like I said, it's about overcoming adversity. It's about self-accountability, and it's about living by principles versus living by feelings.
Okay. So what's your favorite part about being a producer?
Sharing the finished work. I don't know. It's between sharing it and creating it. There's a toss up between the two. Because
So
I love the creative aspect, because a lot of times I'm learning right along with the audience. Well, I'm learning a little bit before because I'm actually shooting the projects, but it's also informative for me as well. So I love that part of it, but then I also love sharing it, and then I also love presenting it as well.
okay. And when, so again, not only just from writing and behind the camera, in front of the camera, what do you believe is the most important quality to have as a producer?
Most important quality, I would say the ability to listen, um, and just getting started, just trying. The willingness to be wrong.
Mm, okay. And what does that look like, right? Because no one wants to be wrong, right? You know, when it comes to producing films, you know, and writing content and things of that nature, what makes something wrong?
Well, not necessarily wrong, but misinformed, or not being equipped enough, or having enough information. Um, so I can give you two incidents. One was when I first started creating films. I was initially writing scripts, which I have a bunch of scripts. I have a lot of scripts. I write on my phone a lot. And when it was time to shoot these projects, I was running into problems having someone to actually perform the work for me. And there was an incident in the city in Baltimore. This was around the Freddie Gray situation, and I didn't like the way that the city was being portrayed in the media. And so I wanted to do something to try to so during the Freddie Gray incident, myself and several of my friends were actually outside trying to separate the youth from the police when they were throwing rocks and batteries or whatever. And we ended up giving them a platform to just vent their frustration, but to do it safely. Um,
Mhm.
and just we were able to try to bring some calm to the city. Well, maybe a week or two after that, there was another incident in another city, and the media, I believe it was CNN at the time, was saying that, this situation is bad, but it's not as bad as Baltimore. These riots are bad, but it's not as bad as Baltimore. And I took that personally. So I wanted to just highlight and showcase some of the more positive aspects of the city. I feel like if people are constantly being shown negative images of themselves and being constantly have negative things said about them, at some point they're going to internalize it, and then it's going to become a self-fulfilled what is it, prophecy, right?
Right. Kind of the norm.
Right. And so I wanted to create a documentary that showed something other than that. And I went out and I purchased some equipment, shot some interviews, and they were horrible. I cut people's heads off in some clips. Um, I had good video, but horrible audio because sometimes I forgot to turn the microphones on, or I turned it on,
Mm,
turn it off. And so it was a learning experience, right? But through doing that, I ended up getting better and better at my craft. Um, in terms of being wrong. Last year or the year before, I did a project called Trauma, and I was focused on the trauma of living in a violent community, right? And I was talking about the gun violence, the victims, all of the things that we ordinarily would talk about. And I was having this conversation with, at the time, Councilman Z. Cohen, and he says, Devin, you're right. There is a lot of um, homicides, a lot of trauma, a lot of murders happening in the city. He said, but I bet you don't know that more people die from substance abuse than gun violence, probably twice as, if not more.
okay.
And again, I didn't know that, right? And that caught me off guard. That caught me by surprise. And what I realized was that oftentimes substance abuse is looked at like not necessarily a victimless incident, but it's looked like it's self-inflicted because you chose to use drugs, you chose to overdose, or whatever, however it's viewed, and so it's kind of swept under the rug and is not shared. Well, I went out and conducted some interviews and spoke to some people, and it turns out that it is a substance abuse is a disease, but
Right.
if you're looking at it as well, yeah, maybe you shouldn't. No one told you to go out and smoke crack or whatever. You would be wrong. So, in creating these projects, I want to just highlight, um, just educate society.
Right, right. Makes now that makes sense. So, and again, it's that learning. So, first, there's a few things I heard there. So, let's tell everyone one how long you've been, for lack of a better term, in the game. How long have you been in doing being a multimedia producer?
Uh, so I started in August of 2013. I went to American University for producing for film and video,
Okay.
and that's where I learned to write scripts. That's where I learned to edit. That's where I learned to uh, put trailers together. And then, what is it now? November 2023. It's been a little bit of time.
Okay. Well, give or take maybe 10 years or so.
Yeah, a little over 10 years.
Yeah. See, we do our research here at Be Exposed Radio. We do our research. So one of the things you mentioned, right? So I know you've wrote many scripts. Let me say congratulations, because I believe you recently submitted something,
I did.
right? And so tell us about Fight the Stigma.
So I submitted it to the film festival, and we won the best documentary award.
Oh, congratulations!
Thank you.
Yeah. So tell us about that.
Fight the Stigma is the project that I was telling you about, involving substance abuse.
Okay.
Like I said, after I spoke to Councilman Z. Cohen, and I was just fascinated by the numbers. Like, okay, almost 1 million people die every year to drug addiction, and I was so caught up on these numbers, but it didn't really seem to catch any traction or attention. Like, the numbers sound horrible, but it's like, boy, they're just numbers. But then once I start speaking to people and they start sharing their stories, then it's like, okay, this is real. So one of my executive producer, a guy named Kevin Dawkins, he shared his story about how he was a drug dealer, but he had a Percocet habit, right?
Mm.
So through his Percocet habit, he ended up becoming addicted to heroin, crack, and so many other things. Now, for me, that was something that I felt that a lot of young people would be able to identify with. A lot of the young guys who are maybe taking pills for whatever reason, like, I wanted to be able to show what the outcome could be. And so he told his story. A few other people told their stories, and it ended up winning some awards.
Nice. Again, correct. Congratulations on that. Have you ever had to choose between the quality of a project or meeting the deadline, right? You know, in media, we have deadlines for things. You know, my producer, Monty, who's a stickler for time, right? The show has to start this time, it has to end this time. Do you ever feel like you have to choose between the quality of a project or meeting the deadline?
I've been in that situation before. Usually with my projects, I have a little more control, so I can extend something if need be. But I worked for Maryland Public Television before, and I was shooting. I was a videographer for them. I was a teleprompter operator. I was floor director, and there were times where I felt like a shoot could have gone better. I felt like
Okay.
the script that was loaded into the teleprompter could have been a little better, but time has gotten away from us, and this thing is airing now, so just you have to go with it. But when it's my projects, I try to, if need be, go back and reshoot something. You know, I would rather delay the I would rather delay sharing the project to make sure that it's right than to rush and get it done. Now, granted, when I watched this particular project, this past project at the film festival, everyone else was watching the film. I was cringing over, I shouldn't have shot this video outside. Maybe I should have, So I mean, I think you're always going to second guess yourself and judge yourself and try to make yourself better. But I would much rather the quality be better and not rush something than just having putting something out.
Yep. No, that makes sense. It's so funny. You mentioned a few things that Monty. So again, Monty is my producer. I call him the magician because I normally pull out something. I need something at the end, and he usually produces. So nothing this time, Monty. You got lucky. You got lucky. Um, so as we talk about, again, quality versus meeting deadlines and having that control when you're a specific project you're working on. Tell us, how did it feel to be a part of history with being at the inauguration ceremony for Governor Westmore?
That was great. I had no idea that I was going to be selected for that, right? Because I feel like I'm pretty good at what I do, but working at Maryland Public Television, there are guys there, videographers who've been doing it for 30 years or more. So I didn't know that I was going to be able to be one of the videographers because they have people who've been doing it way longer than me and are better at it than I am. So for me to be able to be in that position was amazing. I mean, the first Black governor of Maryland, and then my camera. Now my camera wasn't on the main stage. Mine was mainly on the interpreter, but mine was live the entire time. So I mean, the show was broadcast, so mine had to be
right.
Quality had to be right. The focus had to be right. It had to be leveled and good white balance and all of that. But yeah, that was amazing. I actually still have the my badge from that as well. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, keepsakes. Oh, yeah, souvenirs, as I like to call them. I like to collect souvenirs myself. So can you describe to us the most challenging production problem you faced?
The most challenging production problem is always audio for me. It's always audio. I shot an interview, and like I said, the picture looked good. It was great content, but there was a air conditioner that was on.
Okay.
You can hear the humming. Now, certain things I can fix in post production. I'm not the best at it, but it's just never right. Like if you can fix it and you can clean up some things, but it may just because it's me still listening to it, so I'm always going to hear that noise. But yeah, the audio is something that I would love to master because it's. I mean, I don't like to shoot exclusively indoors. I like to shoot outside whenever I can.
So that's interesting. So you prefer to be outside versus, sometimes you have press conferences indoors. You have them outside also, but you prefer outside versus indoors. Why is that?
Well, depending on the story, I think shooting outside, like for Fight the Stigma, I have interviews that I shot indoors. But I think when I'm shooting outside, depending on the topic, you still want to need B-roll, but it's more raw. It's more like you can feel exactly what the person is saying that's sharing their story. Like you're in that environment, and I just love that aspect of it.
Okay. Let's get a little more personal, in depth here. What do you like to do when you're not producing?
Thinking about producing.
Right. No, that I can dig it. I can dig it, Devin. One of the things, like I said, it's like, how can I improve the show? Again, I was off air for a little bit, working on some other projects, but I always think about how can I improve? What's next? But so that's a constant thing for you. How you just get better.
It is. It's a constant thing. I have some other projects that I would love to create. So I'm probably thinking about, okay, well, what story am I going to tell in this particular project? Who will be the experts that I can get in contact with? Where am I going to shoot this? What does the setting look like? What does this project feels like? So creating takes up a lot of my brain space. Especially at nighttime, I'm getting ready for bed. I should be falling asleep, and I'm thinking, man, I wonder if I should get this camera. I saw this other camera. Like it's like a nonstop thing.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. For those that are just tuning in, whether you're video or audio, we are talking with multimedia producer Devin Walker. We are talking film. We are talking books. We're just having some good general conversation here surrounding uplifting the society. So, Devin, tell us, how do you make sure your projects that you produce, in your words, educate, uplift, and inspire society?
How do I make sure of it? Well, first, it's usually a story that I am affected by, right?
Okay.
So I did a project about food deserts, and it wasn't necessarily that I was affected, but there was an apartment building on Pennsylvania North Avenue that my grandmother used to live in, right?
Okay.
And she passed away now, but she used to live in that building. And prior to them burning the CVS down, that CVS was like the grocery store for them. But there were no fresh fruits or vegetables or anything like that there. So for her to go to a grocery store, she would have to take the metro, which is right out front of her building. That's right at Penn North. You can get on the subway there. Yep. The closest grocery store would be Shoppers at Mondawmin, but that elevator is still down at Mondawmin. So, and I think this was 2022 or 2021 when I was doing this project. The elevator is still down. So imagine.
You said the elevator is still down.
Yeah, it's still out of service. So imagine living in that building, right? You have some independence, but you use a wheelchair, you use some type of mobile device, right? And you get down to the metro station, but now you can't get to the grocery store. What do you do now? You got to find another grocery store. Then a friend of mine, he also uses a wheelchair, but he will call mobility to take him to the grocery store, but that's a 4-hour trip because they're going to pick him up. Let's say the grocery store maybe 20 minutes away, 30 minutes away, or whatever. He gets there, he has to shop, and then he can't call him back for 2 hours. So he could be going to get a bag of apples, but he has to wait 2 hours for them to pick him up, and then there's another probably 30 minutes to get back home. So if it's stories like that, or any type of story that I feel that it's meaningful to me, I think it will be meaningful to other people. Now, I'm not always right, but once I start getting into the interviews, and I may put a trailer out, and then I see how the viewers respond to that, then I realize whether or not I'm on the right path, and I'll just continue with that story.
Okay. So again, we are talking with Devin Walker. So Devin, can you provide us with your social media and how folks can get in contact with you? Since you mentioned that, how they can see some of your work that's out there already, how they can get your book. Can you provide some of that information to our viewers?
Yeah, sure. So my Instagram is at Devin Walker Senior. It's at Devin Walker SR. And everything is there. There's a link to my website. I believe I have to check. Well, you can definitely DM me there. The book is available on Amazon. Okay. What was the next question?
Just again, in general, how everything they can get a hold of you, right? So they can get pretty much Instagram.
Pretty much Instagram. Then I have projects on YouTube, which so now you can have like YouTube handles. It's the same as Instagram at Devin Walker Senior. So if you go to that, it'll take you to my YouTube channel.
Okay. So one of the things that my team dug up, I got to come up with a better term, dug up. There's certain terms that they used, or they saw that you used, right? So what does these terms mean to you? And I will go in an order. Being relentless. When you hear that term.
Being relentless. If it's in terms of a project that I want to create, being relentless means going to the extremes, not the extreme in a bad way, but doing what I have to do to get the project done. Like if I want to interview, I did an interview with former Mayor Kirk Smoke. Okay. And for me, it was simple. I just sent the email. He got right back to me. But let's say that didn't work out. Well, now I have to figure out another way to get to him. Maybe I go to an event that he's at. Maybe if he's which obviously he's not running for anything now, but he's the president of the University of Baltimore. So University of Baltimore has something going on. Maybe I'll go to that event. Like just obviously doing everything with integrity, but doing what you have to do to get the project done.
Staying focused. Okay. I like that. I like that. Second term, being responsive.
Being responsive means to me responding to people when they reach out to you. So I've done 2 speaking engagements at Coppin State University.
Okay.
The Dr. Johnny Rice, I think he's the chair of the criminal justice department. He reached out to me and he wanted to show one of my projects. I think it was like Criminal Justice Week or something. He wanted to show one of my projects, and then he wanted to have like a Q&A afterwards. He sent the email. I responded to the email, but then the morning of, it was like a snowstorm. It wasn't really a bad snowstorm, but it snowed enough to where classes were going to be canceled. But I had already given him my word that I would be there, and I didn't know how many people would show up. They already said that classes were canceled. It was already over the news. But I decided to show up anyway. And when I got there, it wasn't a lot of people. There was maybe 10 people. But I still did the presentation, did the Q&A. I actually gave away a bunch of books. Well, not a bunch because there wasn't a bunch of people there. But I think being responsive is following up on your word. It's communicating with people who are trying to get in contact with you and just doing what you say you're going to do.
Absolutely. It makes sense. Makes sense in our industry, because not all of us, and I say us in the industry, do that. I think that's very important. Next one, being credible.
Being credible, also keeping your word. But not only that, making sure that the information that you're providing is accurate, which that one, like for instance, for one of my projects, if I report some numbers that aren't accurate, for me, I would go back and change it. I would go back to whatever clips I posted, take those down, and do it again with the accurate information. But that's something that I have a master's degree in journalism, so that's something that they definitely like beat into you. You have to be credible. You have to make sure that not only are you providing the correct information, but if a retraction has to be made, that you do that.
Okay. Last one, being creative.
Being creative is what I love to do. I like what do they say, medicine and candy approach. No one likes to be lectured, right? So I love to find ways to get information out there. I believe like the good information. I believe that information is power. Knowledge is power. And I like to try my best to share as much of it as I possibly can.
Okay. And that you do. Again, I definitely got to say I'm intrigued just for some of the information that was provided to me. The book, I will be getting a copy. Just to be clear, I like mine signed. So we're gonna connect that. And normally after my shows, when we used to have the studio, and I say that in pause because Monty always knows. I always mention this. Before COVID, we had the station, we had the studio. After COVID, we figured we could save some dollars and do this thing virtually. But we're working on some things. At least I'm working on some things to get us back, because I think that personal connection is always good, and I do kind of miss that. But Monty still runs a tight ship here virtually, so I'm happy, and Be Exposed Radio is where it's at. Okay. So tell us, do you have any upcoming projects that you can share with our audiences? With our audience?
I have a project that I'm working on. I haven't started shooting anything yet. I've conducted maybe 4 interviews with people who I would love to be a part of the project. Mm-hmm. But this particular project is about human trafficking. So I don't have everything worked out yet, but that's a project that's up and coming. And then also I have another project, but I'm more of a I guess a support system for this particular project. But this one is about breast cancer. This is Rhonda Brunson's project. So more of a support role in that. Um, I think that's the last one. I don't know. There's always something going on.
Right. No, that I understand. There's always something going on. It's just a matter of, making those connections. Sometimes, as I like to say, there's never enough time in the day. It's just like, because you're constantly going. Do I dare say you seem like a workaholic? Um, which it has just a gift and a curse. But I think if you continue to produce the work that you do, you'll continue to be successful. So I do thank you for sharing your story with us. What type of producer would you like to be remembered as? And now let's say, because I want to give you your flowers now, as they say, right? What type of producer do you feel that you portray now, right? I mean, I can get into a whole bunch of stuff in terms of me as a radio and podcast host, but tell us, what kind of type of producer would you like to be remembered now and in the future? That's a better
I guess informative, someone who shares, who loves to gain information and share the information simultaneously. Yeah, that's what I guess informative, if I'm understanding the question correctly.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. And someone, hey, because I like to be, folks think I'm a funny person, but ultimately I want to be that individual that's, you see my show, I'm bringing guests on that hopefully they're inspiring and motivating you to do whatever it is that, that you want to do within means, right? So again, that's kind of what I like to be remembered. And things have been going pretty well for me. So I think I'm thinking I'm doing that. How do you, and this is an age-old question when it comes to just producing content, being someone that's, has to be relentless, responsive, credible, and creative, you're going to get a lot of criticism.
Yeah.
And I say that because I saw something when I was doing my own little research when, at the inauguration for Westmore, someone was like, "Oh, he's just a cameraman." I said, "Are you kidding me?" That's folks just hate. You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly what you're talking
about. Like I said, this is Be Exposed Radio, baby. We do our homework. And I said that, sometimes it's the nerve of people. So how do you handle criticism and just off the wall comments like that?
I think fortunately I tend to get more love than hate. Yeah. So it really, that was the first time that something like that has happened. But I think I try. I think that I do good work and I tell good stories, right? And my intention are never to exploit anybody. Is to tell your story, share your story, and go from there. I think what happened in that particular case, this guy, man, he for whatever reason he's been on like some form of attack. He actually was attacking some other guys who has much larger platforms than I do. But I don't know why he decided to include me in that.
So I don't know you from anywhere, right?
Yeah, I don't know the guy at all, but hey.
To each his own. To each his own.
It doesn't happen often. At least I'm aware of, because like I said, I like to maintain a positive image and put out positive information and share other stories and share information that is useful. So it doesn't. This is, like I said, that was the first time it ever was that direct and that like in your face, but that doesn't really bother me.
Yeah. So one of the things you mentioned as I'm thinking, a friend of mine my guy Skyline Mark. This time of the year he does a lot of giving. So shouts out to Skyline Foundation. My guy Mark. He does a lot of giving, and I definitely want to connect you two guys. When you mention the food desert, I just think about some of the work, and I think there's an opportunity there to be a part of that. And again, just from a creative standpoint, sometimes I start thinking about stuff on the show and connect people, because that's one of the things that I do. I am considered a network concierge, so I want to make sure that we stay connected. Even more so now, right? We got you on the show, but I think there's definitely opportunities for us to continue to be successful in our fields, and I definitely see us working together. So, folks that are just joining, again, we are talking to Devin Walker, our very first guest here on Be Exposed Radio. Two questions that I always ask my guests, so don't think you're any different. One, when you hear the term living a rich life, what does that mean to you?
To me, you want me to answer what it means to me, or what would my rich life be?
Both. Give me both. We greedy.
So my rich life would be having the ability to spend as much quality time with my family as possible. I have 3 sons, I have 2 stepdaughters, I have a wife, and then I have friends and other family members as well. So my rich life would be able to spend quality time with my family.
Okay. So that's part of again the 6 principles of living a rich life that I believe, right? Good health, and that goes to number 2, strong relationships.
Yeah.
So, and then the other ones fall into place. All of them fall into place. All right. Now the second question: what would you consider to be your superpower? Because I believe everyone has a God-given gift. God or whoever you believe in has a gift, and I call that their superpower. What would you consider to be your superpower?
Stick to itness.
Stick to itness.
Yeah, I had someone tell me that. So I don't give up easily. It's hard for me to quit. It's hard for me to walk away from things. And that term actually came from a shoot that I was doing. We were shooting a scene in the cemetery. Now this was Kyle Berkeley's his book, one of his books. I think it was The Wake. We were shooting a scene, and I just wasn't going well. Like we would get the shots that we need, but it was just running longer than we expected. It started to get dark, and we would get a good shot, but it wasn't the best shot. So I wanted to do it again. And mind you, we're in a cemetery, and it's dark.
Yeah,
getting darker. And everyone else wanted to leave, and I'm like, well, all right, let's just get one more shot. Let's just do this one more time. And then from there on, I've been known for having what they call stick to itness. Actually, I had another situation. I had a screening. I have another project called Rise that I did right after the Baltimore Love Project, and we had a screening at this recreation center, and things were just going horribly wrong. I have a Mac. They have PC set up, and the communications just wasn't going through, and the audio wasn't working out. But my gift is that I don't give up. I just keep trying and trying and trying and trying. Tried this. All right, well, there's a Best Buy not too far from here. Let's go and get some type of converter. Or that's I don't know where it comes from, but I do not give up. I'm going to figure out a way to get it done, and I'm going to get it done.
Facts. What advice would you give to someone trying to get into the multimedia industry? It's nothing easy. What advice would you give someone? So 2 things. What advice would you give someone, and what advice would you give your younger self, being in the industry over 10 years now?
Oh, so my answer to both questions would be: 1, you don't need permission to do it. Okay. like I said, when I started shooting my projects, a lot of my interviews were horrible. I forgot to turn the microphones on. Um, a couple of times I was cutting people's heads off. But, but doing the work allows you to improve. So get yourself a camera. If you don't have money for a camera, use your phone. Use your phone. There are free apps. There's iMovie or whatever you use, but use your phone, put something together, edit it, and do it again, and do it again, and then get some cameras, and then just go on from there. But you have to do it. Like you can read all of the books, which I have. I have maybe 20 audio books on my phone. You can read all of the books, you can listen to all the audio books or whatever you want to do, but until you actually do it and mess up, because you're gonna make mistakes.
Right.
It'll just be an idea. So one, you do not need permission. If you feel like something needs to be done, if you feel like something is a benefit for not just yourself but society as a whole, go out there and get it done. And if you have an idea of how to do it, that's a start. You go from there, and you're going to improve.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well said. Well said. So, how did you even get into? That's what you wanted to do, but did you have like mentors and role models that kind of help guide you? I always think mentors are a good ways to, kind of learn and get into an industry. But did you have any mentors that actually influenced you, kind of kept you motivated?
No, I didn't. My original plan was to go to law school, right?
Okay.
And took the LSAT. In all fairness, I didn't study for the LSAT. I didn't prepare well. I just thought I could just walk in and take this 3-hour test, and that didn't work out. But after that, I remember being frustrated and being angry, right? Because I wanted more out of life, but I didn't know how to get it. And so as I was able to do things like go to undergrad and just figure these things out along the way, I realized that a lot of people were frustrated because they wanted more and they didn't know how to get there. And they sometimes this became like a downward spiral, right? A self-destructive pattern, right? And so what I wanted to do was just share all of the information that I was getting. If I read a book that I thought would be beneficial to someone, I wanted to share that. Like I said, I have audiobooks all through my phone. I have podcasts. I have just a lot of different things that is mainly, I watch the news probably too much. So a lot of different things that I do to gain information. And the more information I get, I want to share it. And when I started writing scripts, those were the scripts that I would write. I would write scripts that had a message, about fatherhood, whatever it's about, whether it's about mental health or depression or whatever. And what I realize is that the way that I create my projects now, like this documentary style versus a scripted style, is that I don't need permission to get it done. I don't need a giant team. I just need valid information. So that's how it started. It started from wanting to share information. Like I wanted to share a positive image of Baltimore because I saw how the city was being just talked about in the media. I wanted to show people who lived here or give people who lived here a reason to be proud or see that they had other options, because sometimes not realizing that you have options can be viewed as not having options.
Right.
So I wanted to just share as much as I could, and film has been the way to do that. I mean, I'm not a rapper, I'm not a singer, I'm not a poet, but I can write a story. I can find the right people, and I can get that information to you.
Absolutely. So one of the things I find challenging is professional versus personal. Now, you're married with family, of course. How do you balance, if that's even a term, how do you balance your personal and professional life?
Better these days.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
There was a time where I wouldn't say no to anything or anybody. If you needed help filming something, if you needed help writing something, I will be doing that. I'll be writing and shooting my own projects. I'll be working crazy hours, and then I'll be sleeping whenever I can and spending time with my family. A lot of times they were with me while I'm doing all of this stuff. I think with time and experience, I don't have to do that now. Like now I know how to schedule an interview, get exactly what I need in the amount of time that I need it, and move on to the next thing. It's not taking me all day. It's not taking me all night to shoot this interview, to edit this interview. Now that's a problem because a lot of times I want to shoot and then go straight to edit.
Okay.
So I've learned to, okay, well, I'm going to edit on Saturdays from this time to this time. Because there was no limit. I'm shooting it, I'm editing it, and then I'm gonna go to work. Well, when are you gonna sleep? I don't know. I'm gonna it was just on the go, constantly on the go. So I think over time, it's been 10 years, so I've learned to try to balance things a lot better. Like I went to LA. Well, I went to Atlanta a couple of weeks ago, and then the week before that I was in LA. I didn't take my laptop with me either time because I knew if I did,
that's a thing. That's definitely a thing. No electronics.
If I took my laptop, I would have been doing something, editing something. I mean, I didn't take cameras, but like I said, I had my phone, so I could have shot something, edited something, wrote some ideas, but I didn't take my laptop with me at all. Even to Atlanta, and I was there for the film festival. I didn't bring my laptop at all because I wanted to be in the moment,
right?
Not work through the moment.
Absolutely. Well, Devin, I want to thank you for joining. If you could be so kind to again share, folks, your contact information, let them know how they can get a hold of you, and we'll definitely be in touch. We'll definitely be in touch, and look forward to working with you in the future, some form or fashion, some capacity. I see that happening.
Absolutely, I agree. Looking forward to it. Again, my Instagram is Devin Walker Sr. DEVIN WALKER. My YouTube handle is the same, Devin Walker Sr. My Facebook is Devin Walker. I don't really know how Facebook works as far as the names, but I'm there somewhere.
So before I let you go, I do want to ask, and maybe I think this is a question from a couple of folks. What other services do you provide? Let's say someone wants you to film. I don't know, have like a documentary of their life, whatever case is. What other services do you provide?
Yeah, I need like a marketing team or something. It's really hard for me to talk about all of the things that I do. Like I just do things and be like, hey, well, did it. But
just comes natural. So I understand. It just comes natural.
I do write and shoot and edit for other people. There's a project that I did, I think it was 2022 or 2021, called The Aftermath. Now, this was not my project. This was Angela Royster's project, but it was about parents who had to bury their children due to violence. And she had some interviews. I shot a few interviews, but it wasn't a complete story yet. So I put everything together. I put the story together, did all the editing. Like I said, added a couple interviews, added some sound bites or whatever was missing just to connect the two. But yeah, I put the project together, but it's definitely her project. I'm also going to be working with Rhonda Brunson with her project about breast cancer. But again, that's her project. I am simply helping and filming and editing or whatever else she needs, or anyone that matter needs to get done. That's what I do. Occasionally I do photography and videography for other events, but primarily filming documentaries is what I do.
Okay. Well, again, thanks for joining, Devin. we got to pay a few bills. We got to take a few commercial breaks. But again, thanks for joining, and I'll be in touch.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, Devin. Talk to you soon. All right, folks, that's tuning in here. We're going to take a quick commercial break before our second guest come in. This individual is phenomenal, probably the multi-talented. We had a multimedia producer. Our next guest is multi-talented. So we'll be right back. Come back to us, beexposedradio.com. This is Living a Rich Life. I'm your host, Rich James. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
Today, our teacher taught us about a place called Africa. She say our mamas come from Queens over there. That means that we, royalty.
I don't need you to love me.
Afternoon, I needs me a wife.
Even if we have to part, you and me, us have one heart.
I don't need
Get off my land!
you
I rat you every day.
to love.
Nothing but death can keep me from it.
Oh, Miss Seeley!
You must ain't got no kinfolk around these parts.
All I had was my sister. She was the only one ever loved me. I'm gonna hold my head up. I'm gonna put my shoulders back.
It's time for you to see the world.
There's gonna be some changes made.
Put it on.
This ain't me.
Hush. We need to look like we belong. Let's see this smile and color. Sweet and loving God.
Showing my heart to the folks that I'm close to.
Now we're talking. Dear Seeley, we are more than just kings and queens. We are at the center of the universe.
Oh, yes, I am.
Yes, the color purple. And that's a remix. That's a remix, as they say. I look forward to checking that out. Christmas Day sometime. But let's continue here on Be Exposed Radio. Again, living a rich life where we live by 6 principles. Good health, strong relationship, financial freedom, goals and achievement, extraordinary experiences, and philanthropy. And our second guest embodies all of those things. Our featured guest is known for her enthusiasm to serve citizens of Maryland, which completely aligns with our governor's slogan, "Leave no one behind," and her signature hashtag, "Baltimore Needs Me." One of the most dynamic and diverse individuals in Baltimore with experience in public speaking, nonprofits, organizational leadership, political campaigning, education, and entertainment. In working with human services sector, that's that youth, elderly, and disabled, nonprofit organization, television, radio networks, marketing, promotions, budgeting, advertising, film, event planning, fashion, traveling, urban marketing, and broadcast production, and a partridge in the pear tree. She is more than qualified and prepared for real public service. Please welcome the co-host of 106.1 Praise FM and Outreach Director, Miss Jamie Johnson. Well, welcome.
Hello there.
Wait a minute, we got it. Monty, can you fix that echo? I tell you. So how we doing?
We're doing pretty good. And we still got an echo going on there?
I don't know. Can you?
I can't hear the echo.
Okay, well if you can't, then we're good.
You sure you can work through it? Because I know what it's like being on your side when it's the echo when you're doing the interview. Are you sure?
In the beginning, we're talking about Google something or another, and you're working on it with some kind of coming back to it. So it's not
Did you hear that?
Does he want me to come out and come back in?
No. It's nothing you can do about it either way. It's
then I'm good.
Are you sure? I got an iPhone. I got a couple other phones. I can use a couple other devices. Are you positive?
Okay.
That's what's coming from Android.
Again, as long as the folks watching can't hear, like, it's good to sound. Okay, so yes. All right, so we'll give you that one introduction. It's proper. I have to say that. Since you connected, it's been phenomenal. I think you're an amazing individual. Your energy includes all that. And, I believe you have something else. So we're going to let you tell it in the video. So can you introduce yourself and give us some background?
Perfect. So thank you again for having me. I'm so humbled. I am typically on your end, right, doing the interviews. And so when someone wants to talk to me and interview me, I'm like flustered all the time. But my name is Jamie Johnson. I go by Jamie Chris. Full name Jamie Kristen Johnson. That's where Jamie Chris came from. People seem to think that that's my last name. I am a native of Baltimore, born and raised in Baltimore. Lived in the same house in Baltimore my entire life to inherit the same house again from my parents. So I love my life in regards to just having the roots of Baltimore. I right now currently serve as the outreach director for the appointments office, for the governor's appointments office. So I work directly for the governor and the administration right now. And I'm excited to work for the first African-American governor of Maryland and the only one of the United States currently right now for the next 3.5 years, right? And so I'm super grateful and humble for that experience. You gave me an introduction like no other. You kind of read my full bio, which I wasn't expecting that. So I think you've kind of put all the things out there in regards to the feng shui that I offer to the world. But I will say that at heart, I'm a humanitarian, and I just enjoy being a public servant, serving the public, and just all the things. I'm a mom, and I'm family oriented. I love my family. I am the rock of my family, which to whom much is given, much is required. So that's kind of how I live it. Yeah, but that would be me. And I have a history of all the things I've done prior to becoming the outreach director for the governor. I was Mayor Scott's youth and community engagement manager. So that gave me a lot of my status in the city and allowed me to work with a lot of the youth and just all of the programs dealing with education and just empowering people. And prior to that, I worked for the Mayor's Office of Homeless Services, the CAP Centers, the eviction prevention, working with the elderly population, and just all the things. And so I'm just excited to be here, but that's a synopsis of myself.
That's a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. But I keep up with everything. Only I work that job.
So the outreach director, I get that. I get a little more into that as well. You mentioned that you're on the other side of the video. So Praise 106.1. You're a co-host. Let's talk about that. What got you into radio?
Oh man, so I love radio and television. That is one of my first passions. I actually, like your previous guest, I'm a Morgan alumni, so I did undergrad at Morgan, and my degree is in broadcast journalism with a minor in public relations and fashion merchandising. And so I've always like loved radio. Like I used to co-host Strictly Hip Hop 88.9. If some people are old enough and they know about Strictly Hip Hop, that was like the Friday night show, and I would be in the grind with Ak, and we would be just interviewing lots of artists around town. And so that also gave me a large network. And then, I mean, I've done internships and worked with, television and radio, Fox 45. I've worked with BT 106 in Park, BT Radio, all the things in New York. So I've done all of those things. And so I left radio. I co-hosted a radio show at Morgan. It was fashion. It was an acronym, fashion as well as social and health issues in our nation. And it was a great experience. And so with all that being said, I left radio for a while, moved to New York. I'd done lots of things there. And so recently, I'd say 2 years ago, I connected with Dr. Matthew L. Jones. And so, we were talking, he was telling me like I was doing radio and he wanted to bring the radio show back. And I was like, oh, I used to co-host, a radio show. And I was like, I love radio. And he's like, well, you should be my co-host. And I was like, I didn't have the interview. I didn't do anything. This is how God works with me though. Like, I don't apply for jobs. I don't really interview. I don't fill out applications. Things just happen. Right. And so, Dr. Jones brought me on, and we started in January of last year, 2023. We're on every Saturday at 11 a.m. on 106.1 Praise FM. Just like you said, it's one of Radio 1's top stations. We're syndicated in other cities and states. They replay the show. We're on their business network station and their podcast. And so that has been a great experience. And I'm so grateful to Kathy Hughes just, for keeping that platform going.
Absolutely. So how did you approach the time and prioritize? Outreach for this administration.
What was my approach?
Of Maryland.
What was your question?
What's your approach?
How do you approach time management and prioritizing tasks?
Well, my job, first and foremost, when I signed on as a public servant, and just as a public servant outside of being in the political realm of things, you sign up to put everything on the back burner to serve the public. That is what I am here for. So my job is a priority. I have a great support system, right? Because I mentioned I'm a mom. Like I have one kid, he's 14. And so I have a huge support system. He has an amazing dad, and his dad has a great support system. My parents, my mom is everything. I have like a personal nanny. So I'm able to manage my mom life with a great support system. I also, cheese and crackers, I own a commercial cleaning business. I don't even talk about it because I can't take any more contracts in business. And so I was just mentioning on my live before I came on that, God has just been so good to me because the business has grown from 2 contracts to 9 contracts. They're all large buildings in Timonium, Maryland. And that takes up my weekends because most of the contracts are done on the weekends. I have a few that are all throughout the week, but I have a great team and a great staff. I have a staff of 5. My sister helps me manage the business, both of them actually. And so I make it kind of a family thing. They hate it, but they help me out and they're in the grind with me. So just having a really good support system. I use all kinds of devices and calendars and reminders. Like I have a reminder to move my car, to pick my kid up, or does he have a ride from school? Like I set an alarm for everything. Like people around me, they hate my phones because all 3 of them, mind you, I manage 3 cell phones. So they keep me in line. So I manage my time really by just staying organized, prioritizing, and making sure that nothing lacks within my job, but then also just utilizing the support system that God has given me. And so that's how I'm able to do it. Some days I don't know how to do it. It's like a blur. The days run into each other. And I know you know that.
Facts. Some days not enough time in a day.
Never enough time in a day.
What is the best thing about working for this administration as well as working in media? Right? What kind of goes hand in hand?
What's the question again?
What is the best thing about working in media as well as working for this administration?
What is the best thing?
Yes.
The best thing. Okay. The best thing about working in radio is that I get to be my full self, right? Like, and I get to, I feel like I come alive in that role. And so, I mean, I get to touch people. And so I think the best thing is just being able to exonerate my personality, right? And then the best thing I would say about working for this administration is working for an administration. And the administration, when I say administration, I'm talking about the governor and my boss and Tisha Edwards and all the people that I serve under, our chief of staff and all those people. The best thing about working for the administration is that I work for an administration who actually cares. Like, we are doing the work and it's sincere. And so when people care, it shows up in all aspects of the work.
Absolutely. What advice would you give to individuals that are looking to get into radio as well as
Okay, you're gonna tag team these questions, I see. Yes. Okay. I love it. I think the best advice that I would give someone to get into radio probably would be, don't limit yourself to one role, right? Because just getting your foot in the door is the key. You got to just once you get your foot in the door and people can see your talents and they can feel your energy and they can see your work ethic, everything else will fall into place. And I think a lot of people want to be on radio, but they don't want to do the grind, or they are discouraged because they can't get the on-air job, but they've been offered an engineer position to work the engineering board in night or over the weekend or something. And so those opportunities always spiral into the next. And so I want people to just have an open mind of just get your foot in the door and everything else will fall into play once people see what you have to offer. I will say, in regards to politics and working in government, the best advice I would say would be to get a mentor, get someone that's already in the field, that's already doing the work, and pick their brain and have them kind of like nudge you and pull you along. If that's something, once you find out what they do and how the infrastructure works, if that's something you want to do, then that mentor will allow you to gauge the temperature of, whatever the opportunity is, so that you can know if it's something for you. And I will say that and I have to be honest and transparent, people say that like certain opportunities is all in who you know. I believe that it's really who you know and who you're connected to. Like I said before, I've never filled out an application. I've never applied for any of my jobs my whole entire life. It's just a domino effect. One opportunity, one connection, and one network leads to the next. So my best advice would be to get a mentor and get in those arenas and network with those particular people that you wish to gravitate to in regards to getting into politics. I mean, and you have to be a trusted source, right? So you have to have people that will vouch for you and, pretty much kind of big you up so that you can get to where you need to be.
Yeah. I think for you, and outreach, it just matters. One piggybacks on the other. And you definitely. What do you like
What do I like to do?
Yes, when
oh my God. Only because this is called Be Exposed Radio. I'm going to be honest. I like to do nothing because I'm always busy. So my favorite thing to do when I'm not serving the public and I'm not working and I'm not traveling is to do nothing. I want to put my hair in a bun and I want to lay around the house, take naps, and watch TV. And that happens like once a month. So it's my favorite thing to do.
Mine is putting in one. I find household dates because one of my questions about what I like. I get invited to a lot of different things. I get free tickets for a lot of different things. And I go out with my support. But ultimately, I had to ask, do I like people?
Good question.
Right.
Great question.
So
that's a good thing. So that's your favorite thing to do. To when you're not busy and in the mix, it's to do nothing, right?
Yes. I'm finding that more
That's
and
more. And you can't put your hair in a bun, so I get that. Me, I can do that, and then there's no one around, right? So like my kids gone, people are gone, and I'm single, so it's like I can look however I want when I'm home. I love it. That's it.
Terrible. So those are we are talking to Jamie Johnson. She is outreach director for the Governor Administration, and she's the co-host of 106.1 Praise FM. So feel free to ask a question. We're going to keep getting to know her. Two questions I always ask this. Okay. First question is, what does living a rich life mean to you? The second question is, what is your superpower?
So living a rich life to me means having balance. A rich life entails balance, and that balance to me is health and my equilibrium and mental stability and having time for my family and having time to, I don't even have time to shop like I want to, but to be able to go on my phone and put a few things on my cart and press purchase, right? So living a rich life to me is just really having balance and having access, right? Because money is just a means to an end. Like money is not, just because you have money in a bank account does not necessarily mean you live a rich life. Like, yeah, you may be quote unquote considered rich, but having balance and having access to me is living a rich life. I'd rather have, if people say, would you like to have access and be able to walk through any door you want to walk through and also have balance in your life for all the things that you want to do, I'd take that over $1 million, even though I'm still working towards my million, but I'll take that over that. Right. So, and then what were you going to say? Say something.
Well, the 6 principles of living a rich life in order. So good health, strong relationships, and then financial freedom is number 3, right? Goals and achievement, extraordinary experiences, as you know, because I think we met at an extraordinary experience event. So having all those things and giving back, it goes hand in hand to what you're saying, right? Because again, money comes and goes. At the end of the day, I want to be able to have access to things. I want, to move freely like I want to. I want to have strong relationships with my family, my kids, and all that good stuff. And then more importantly, I want to be healthy, right? So, my brother's been starting to work out now. So all these things make sense. So there's a balance to it, so to speak. When you say balance, I always struggle with that word because again, I feel like I'm always constantly working, grinding, but I do know I can take time. I feel like, when I'm just laying around, I should be doing something.
Absolutely. I 110,000% agree with you. And speaking of the workout thing, it's like, that's my biggest challenge right now. I'm trying to figure out how to get my workout in. And so now I'm like, okay, I need to give myself an extra hour in the morning. I'm like, where do I find the time? So now my only option is to get up an extra hour early in order to get the workout. And that's the only way it's going to happen. So that balance is ultimately hard. It's ultimately hard to achieve, but I try to do my best. And you asked me, what is my superpower?
God gives us all superpowers, right? But I call it a superpower. What is your superpower, Jamie Johnson?
My superpower is faith. Faith. Like I have faith. And so prayer is the key, and faith unlocks the door. And so that's my superpower. That's what I live by. Like I pray and I have faith and I believe. And I honestly am a person, and this, I don't know if this sounds shallow or if it sounds overly confident, but I don't believe that there's nothing in this world that I can't do. It's nothing in this world that I can't learn. It's nothing that I cannot do. I know that if I put my mind to it, it's almost like this. It's a universal law, right? I tell people all the time, right? Even when I talk about like God and all the things, I say, people say, well, you have different religions. Well, how do you know if God is real? And how do you know if this is real? And how do you know these things? And so I tell people, hey, look, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. I believe in his son, Jesus. I know, whether you believe it or not, right? But I have way more to lose by not believing in him than believing in him and it not be real. I just believed and I tried to live a good life, right? And so you have this thing where you have all of these different religions and they all say the same thing. Like whether you go with the Quran or the Bible or the Buddhism, it's all about putting the work in. When you put the work in, everything else falls into play. Like you have to believe and put the work in. Same thing. Faith is the believing part. Prayer unlocks the door, right? So same thing. It's like putting the work in, but faith without works is dead. So you still have to put the work in with anything. Even Biggie said it. Forget the world. Don't ask me for everything you earn. You got to work hard for it. You got to put the work in, right? So that's just how life goes. So my superpower is having faith in myself, praying about it, believing it, and putting the work in. That's just like all into one. It's not one particular thing, but I can't have one without the other. That's what makes it the full recipe to my superpower.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you know about Biggie? I'm gonna name you. So,
what do I think about Biggie?
What do you know about Biggie?
I mean, let's be clear. My roots are in hip hop. When I lived in New York, and like I said, I interned in 2004. So I've worked for like 106 in Park, BT. Like I've done the thing. So hip hop is my life. Like 1996 is when I super fell in love. That was my freshman year in high school. I'm telling my age now, but that's when I fell in love with hip hop. And I love Biggie. I love everybody. I mean, I ain't gonna say I'm more of a Tupac fan, but to each his own. But I love hip hop. I love the culture. Where the culture is today for my 14-year-old is a different culture, but I love hip hop. I love all music actually, but I love Biggie and I love the culture. Yeah.
What do you think is the best way to keep your audience engaged with your broadcasting, right? So, sometimes it's hard to keep folks engaged. I can tell you a lot of folks, my show has been pretty successful and folks, they're like, hey, you should do X, Y, and Z. And to me, it's, for lack of a better term, what they're asking me to do is ratchet, right? They want me to just some stuff that's not I'm not comfortable with, right? My show is about inspiring and motivating folks. But they, hey, you would do really good if you changed it. Truth be told, it probably would generate a lot more money, additional money. But
I'm sorry, wait a minute. It would be changed if you did what? Tell me again. Say that again.
If I change the dynamic of my show. Right? My show is inspiring and motivating. They're like, hey, you should do this. And I'll share that with you off the air. But it just, to me, it doesn't resonate with who I have become and who I am now. Right? Because I can have some folks and I could have some folks on here and kind of surprise them, right? Like, really, these some in-depth interviews, and it just just not who I am. It's about being positive, because we all got a story, like I said. Mine's a little different than others, but at the end of the day, I find it hard. So just a little tidbit there, but I have to share. Remind me to share with you what some of the other stuff that we're talking. So, but anyway, I'm going to ask you, what role does networking play in your career? Right. So again, outreach director, radio. It's kind of similar to what I'm doing. So what role does networking play?
Networking is my life, right? So networking is, I would say, in regards to my role and all that I do, networking is probably, if I had to give it a percentile, networking is almost 50%, because that's the only way I will be able to elevate issues, solve issues, know who's the shakers and the movers, and what's happening. Like, I have to network because I realized before I used to think that I could kind of do it all, but I know that everyone has a part to play. And so I know that I need other people and their expertise and their line, whatever line of work they're in or whatever their subject matters are. Like, I need to talk to people. I need to network. I need to have strong connections with people so that when it's time to execute or I need to implement things, I have those opportunities because I've laid the groundwork. Networking is without networking, really, I don't see how someone could even do outreach, right? And so one thing I will say in this role is that I don't have a choice but to network because there are places in Maryland that I've never even been or not even familiar with. Like, I mean, I know about the Eastern Shore, right? But that's like a royal area in Maryland. Like, I have to network and I have to know who the players are in the Eastern Shore so that I can bring back whatever my good diligence is for the administration. And as the outreach director, I work for the governor's appointments office. And so we manage over 600 boards and commissions in the state. And so this Governor Westmore, he is the first governor that I know about that has made these opportunities available to all Marylanders. And he wants the people that make the rules for our state and control policies and procedures. He wants them to look like the state, reflective of the state. He wants them to look like you and I. He wants the diversity there. He wants the equity. He wants the inclusion, and it ends with excellence. And so if you don't network to get to know who's doing what and what's happening places, then you can't elevate the work. So networking is key.
Well said. Well said. Do you find how do I see? I am not one that gets stressed. I don't really get stressed. That's how I have all my hair, no grays, well, very little. Do you find it stressful sometimes? Being the outreach director, as well as having to show up for the radio every Saturday, because it's a thing. It can be stressful, right? It can be stressful. How do you handle that? How do you deal with the potential stress, put my air quotes, stress and pressure of your career?
Well, I'll tell you this, that Saturday, like when they first asked me what time, like even Dr. Jones, when he brought me on, he said, you know what, I'll let you lead the way. What time do you want to go on? I had several times to pick from on a Saturday. And I said, well, you know what, I'll do 11 a.m. because it's not too early. It's not too late. I still have the rest of the day to myself. Mm-hmm. I had no clue. In the beginning, it was okay. But that 11 a.m. feels like 6 a.m. to me on a Saturday. Like it comes around like clockwork, right? And so that sometimes is overwhelming for me. And like I said, I manage my commercial cleaning business on the weekends and all the things. And sometimes we have events, whether it's work or with the governor or something I've been invited to. So I have these things, but it is stressful. And so how do I manage that? I live by the saying too, like, even though I'm, try to be all like pompous and prestigious, got a little flag on all the things, but I play hard, right? It says work hard, play hard. So when I am playing,
work hard, play hard. That's
it. So that's how I manage it. Like I am, and it's not easy, right? It's not easy, but I will say that 9 out of 10 times I have something to look forward to. I have something that's a goal. So I know, like, if this is a hard week, I'm looking forward to whatever I have on the calendar that may be a few days out that'll allow me to digress and kind of like let my hair down a little bit, which is already down, but that type of thing. So yeah, that's it.
Okay. How do you define
how do I define success?
Yes, ma'am.
Success is living out your dream, living out your true purpose. That's success. I used to think that everyone like knowing my name and being famous and being on TV and, just having this household name was success, right? And so I believe success is, first of all, in order to be successful, you have to know your purpose, right? So finding your purpose and living out your purpose is success.
Do you feel you have found your purpose?
I'm still finding my purpose.
Okay.
But what I do know, and not very few people in this, I don't even like to tap into this, but this is Be Exposed Radio, so I feel like I can be honest here. And not even be honest, but I just, everything is not for everyone, right? And so I will say, like, people like, oh,
I'm sorry. Say that again. Everything is not for everybody. That is a favorite saying. I'm sorry. That is a serious.
Everything. Yes, everything is not for everybody, and I will say this: when I say, "Am I still finding my purpose?" Like, I know that there's so many things that God has inside of me that I haven't unpacked, right? So I'm just like, I feel like I'm just scratching the surface right now where I'm at in my life. But not too many people can say, like, there's some people that, they're like, oh, that's, this could be, what I'm about to say could be considered as a weirdo, right? But I know for sure 2 times in my life, right, I've actually heard God's voice. Like, I heard him speak to me, like, and I wouldn't believe it was real if he didn't tell me to get a pen and paper, right? But the message that he had for me, he said, and this goes back to I don't know why everybody's calling me like crazy. Something must be going on. I have 3 phones ringing, forgive me. But everything is not for everybody. But I will say that God told me, he said, Jamie, once you realize that it's not about you, it will be about you. He said, I've given you a gift to allow other people's dreams and fruitions to come true. And that is solid for me. And so I will say that because my whole life is purpose driven around humanitarian work and helping people and whoever I'm serving, and I've had an entertainment consultant business, so I've had tons of clients when I came back from New York. I didn't even mention this, but the opportunity from working for BET and working in New York, I worked for Kevin Liles. So I was the assistant VP of marketing for Def Jam. So I did Fight for New York and Vendetta, 2 old Def Jam video games, but I lived in New York. I've worked in those video games, and that was like an immense opportunity for me. And so just being in those arenas and being around key players, like when I'm around key players and people that are making things happen, like they appreciate my gifts, and I just don't make it about me. Like I try to serve and just implement whatever I can strategically to whomever I'm serving. And so like, that's where I'm at now. And that's why things come around full circle for me, because I don't make them about me. Like I make them about others and whoever else is involved. And then somehow or another, like you said, I want to interview you. So now it's about me, right? So like, it's not about me, then it will be about me, right? So that's kind of it. Thank you. Yes.
So what do you want your legacy to be? What do you envision that your legacy will be?
That I was a super fly humanitarian. Super fly, okay? Like down to earth humanitarian. Yes. And an amazing mother and daughter. That is important to me. And if I become a wife, then we'll add that as the 3rd one. But that's what I want. I just want people to remember me as like, she was a fly humanitarian. She's out there cleaning up trash, working with homeless services, but she looked super cute when she was doing it, right? So in the process, I just want people to remember me as someone who helps people. And I want people to say like that, how I conduct myself. I'm always conducting myself by putting myself in other people's shoes to be able to give the best reaction or energy that I could possibly give off. Yeah.
And your energy has always been, even that. Oh goodness.
So you were getting ready to choke on that one, right? You had to. We're not going to tell that story on air, right?
Say
that
what you made me lose my train of thought. Well, I want to thank you for joining. Definitely good conversation. What do you have going on? What's the latest and greatest that's coming down the pipe for Jamie Johnson?
Oh my God, thanks for asking. So, it's a program called Growth, and it's a program by Dowie, and so a lot of people know him, and so you guys are connected. You already know who I'm talking about, but he thought enough of me again. Someone thought enough of me, and he made me the chair of his board, and so we have this Mood Forever event coming up on Thanksgiving Eve, and this event is utilized to raise money for inner city youth so that they can have the opportunity to, so that Grow can have opportunity to expand their program. And they have things like the Cash Classroom and all of these other programs that they're doing to help our youth and to pour back into them, and so that they can grow, right? And so it's called Move Forever. It's on the 22nd, Thanksgiving Eve. It's out in DC. It's at Play in DC. Information's on my page. So anybody, I know you're going to probably tell me again to plug in my handles, but it's Jamie_Criss, CRISS. And the event information is there. And so we're asking people to come out to support. All of the tables are sold out, but we still have tickets. And we want people to come out, prep your food early in the day, take off work, come out, have a good time, and you go back home, get some rest, and then finish cooking your Thanksgiving food. But that event is dear to me because it deals with our youth, and we're utilizing what people like to do. People like to have a good time. So if you like to have a good time and we could do something positive in the same frame, we're making that happen.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very familiar with the program.
Yes.
Been a part of it. Through and through.
Say that again.
Dawi was on my show the early years when I first started. So that's always a plus. All right. So what I usually do at this point, I want you to stick around because we have our closing remarks, Living a Rich Life closing remarks. So you're gonna stick around for a few more minutes?
Of course I am. Thank you for having me, and I'm so grateful, and I can't wait to have you on my show.
Say that. So this is a show that is always dear to my heart. I don't like it, but I gotta say goodbye until the next time. So one of the things here, Living a Rich Life principles is philanthropy. And a philanthropist is a person who donates time, money, experience, skills, or talent to help create a better world. Anyone can be a philanthropist, regardless of your status, your net worth. How are you helping to make your community and/or world better? That's what today's show is all about. Two guests that, in my opinion, are making the world better, making the community better. So being able to serve and help others is the greatest gift bestowed on us as individuals. So make sure you're sharing your gift. Thank you, Devin Walker. Thank you, Jamie Johnson, my featured guest, for sharing your stories and inspiration today. Until next week, stay focused and continue to be inspired to live a rich life. This is Rich James saying goodnight, and thank you for tuning in to Be Exposed Radio. Until next week.